Good morning and welcome to the Capital Journal's Top Tank Topeka Facebook broadcast. We are live from the West Star Energy building in downtown Topeka on the second floor. We've got a nice view here behind us. My name is J.C. Reeves. I'm an online editor with the Topeka Capital Journal. And across the table from me is my colleague, Morgan Chilson, who is the business reporter for the Capital Journal. Morgan, how's it going today?
Going great.
Going
I love
great?
rain.
Yeah? Good. Morgan's worked directly with the Top Tank folks for a little bit. She's written a couple stories about Top Tank. And so can you tell us a little bit about what Top Tank is, just to kind of open this thing up?
Sure. Top Tank is a Topeka version of the ABC Shark Tank, which was pretty exciting when it was announced. 6 businessmen have come together to put the funds for a program that will find an entrepreneur to open a business downtown. And actually, I'm going to throw that. Brent, why don't you talk just a little bit? We're here with, we should introduce.
Yes.
Brent Bowles and Mark Ruel. And they have both part of the investors in the Top Tank. Can you tell me a little bit about how this came to be?
Well, I think the beginnings of it were simply just conversations about how to continue the momentum that we believe Topeka has, and not only downtown, but just creating this entrepreneurial spirit and trying to grow businesses. And so through that, we came up with an idea of if we were willing to invest in a business in the downtown area, would someone come? And through that, we developed Top Tank, an idea. So.
Those are some of the best, the ones that come out of conversations and real interest and passion in it. Mark, can you tell us a little bit about why this kind of was something that you thought you should be involved with?
Well, one, my friends and people I respect twisted my arm and said, why don't you do this too? So I'm in. And second of all, it should be fun, right? As Brent said, we've got movement, positive movement in Topeka. The flywheel's turning, but sometimes you need to just put a little more energy into the flywheel. And so we said, if there's a way to help an entrepreneur get a leg up and also make it kind of fun and bring a little buzz, that's a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it's the start of many more things. And the idea, anytime you do something like this isn't the end in itself. This is just simply trying to open up avenues and let other people catch a vision for what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this will be a tiny piece of what goes on.
Well, I know we were joking when we met the first time about how you hope that this might become an annual thing, though not necessarily with just you 5 investors, so pull in some other businessmen in town and businesswomen as well.
Well, and on that point, literally we've had people raise their hand and go, I'm interested, I'd love to be a part of that. So I think that's real. I don't think it is a joke that there's others, not just on the private side, but I think there's a few that are working with some of the in the public space that would like to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk just a little bit about the process of Top Tank. So you're taking applications now until August 31st, is that right?
That is correct.
So what happens next?
Yes, so as we're beginning the process of reviewing the applications, and after August 31st, our goal will be to narrow down what we'll call a group of finalists and bring them into Topeka in November. And at that time, we'll do formal interviews, and we'll also ask for additional information, because at this point the application is pretty broad, but we're going to ask for business plans, we're going to ask for, we want to make sure that their ideas are real, and they also have the ability to fund a piece of it. That's important. Everyone is going to have skin in the game in this particular enterprise. So in November, we'll also introduce them to people in Topeka that could also help with some of that. So for example, Glenda Washington at Go Topeka, she has access to whether it's microloans or some of the other funding options that are available. So we're going to make those introductions at that time.
Yeah, and Glenda's going to join us actually here in a little while, so she'll talk about some of those support services that Topeka offers for entrepreneurs. What type of applications are you receiving? How many, and what kind of industries are they looking at?
They're soup to nuts.
Yeah, there's no one that's the same, right? It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things that in a million years I wouldn't have thought of, and then there are other things that you might imagine, restaurants, night spots, things like that are easily imaginable. But it's going to be fun, and it'll be difficult because it won't be closely aligned things from which you choose among them, but it might be things that are way kind of out there from what any of us would have thought of on our own. But mostly what we're hoping we do is a lot of times when people have a good idea, an entrepreneur, they have a good idea, they think they have enough seed capital, but they underestimate the startup costs, they underestimate the staying power it takes for working capital, and we're trying to bring some experience and some capital to help them understand that success doesn't happen overnight, and you need to be capitalized for what it takes to get a business up and running before you just think a great idea pays. Right? Great ideas are pretty cheap.
Right.
You need to have great ideas and a business plan and adequate capital to make it work.
Will each of you bring your expertise to the topic? I mean, I know that Glenda and some of the other folks in town, Carl Klein with the Small Business Development Center, some of the other people here are going to work with them. Greg Schwert actually is one of the businessmen who he is going to do design plans. Can you explain what he's doing a little bit?
Well, I think he's going to talk later. I'll let him get into specifics.
He actually was unable to be here, so we had to switch the lineup.
Well, let me
so
tell you,
you're
I'm
on
going to
the hook
commit
now.
to Greg a lot at this point since he couldn't
yeah.
come. So it's
And
like
it's on
showing up and
video.
not being at a meeting. And so Greg's going to help them. Obviously, there's some vacant space in the downtown area, and so one of the things they'll do in November is all the businesses will get an opportunity to see that vacant space. Greg will be able to take that vacant space, take their ideas, and help them bring a concept about in that particular space. So really designing it.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
That alone is worth getting involved with the project. Yes, I can't even imagine what that would cost if you were paying for it to have someone do that and take what's in your brain and put it on paper. So
Well, and
very
think
cool.
about the places where you go and you enjoy. It's not just what you eat or what you drink, for example. It's the experience, and it's the ambiance and it's the environment. And having Greg and his team's expertise on that can make it different and better from what might just be an idea for some good food.
Right. Well, that's what I was at something else for an event yesterday from Destination Next, and they were talking about when they do surveys about what young people want in a community, and I know that's a concern for most of the business people here with workforce issues, but that they wanted more experiences than places to go. Is that something that you hope to create in the downtown? I mean, is that part of your focus on what happens here?
Well, if you look at it just from a restaurant standpoint, if we were evaluating just restaurants, there's a lot of opportunities out there to put a restaurant in downtown Topeka. But we were looking for one that would create just that, an experience in which people not just from Topeka would come, but neighboring communities in Holton and Lawrence and Manhattan would say, we want to go experience that and experience the food. So, I mean, I would say absolutely, it's a big part of it.
So, and one of the trends that we see, not just here, but everywhere, is there is a resurgence of interest in things that are locally owned, locally operated, and unique and different. And that's really what we're hoping for. Something unique and different and good with local ownership, local operations that represents our community and makes our community something special.
Yeah. I know when we first talked about this idea, I think it was you, Mark, that said that you were kind of thinking in terms of entertainment, bar districts, all the kind of traditional stuff, and then you guys said, no, let's not limit this. Can you share any of the more unique ideas that you've gotten, or is that totally an unfair question?
I think there's some privacy that we probably need to respect, but I will tell you, and Mark will know which one I'm talking about. I won't talk about the industry, but there was one idea that came through that I personally probably didn't understand. I asked some people that were younger than me, I hate to admit this, and they're like, oh yeah, it is absolutely the trend and craze everywhere. And I'm like, really? And they're like, it's blowing up, you can see it on TV, and so it was like, okay, yeah, that's interesting. So
it's fun to see all that imagination come into play. So, well, both of you are businessmen, and I know, on different scales and at different points in your career, but what do you see that Topeka can bring to these entrepreneurs as they bring a business here?
So one of them is, we talked about the requirements for capital, right? We have available real estate capital, which is quite affordable relative to many other locations. Some of the ideas we'll see would never work in many other communities because the capital requirements would be so great, nobody could overcome them and get through a ramp-up period to test the market. So we have that. We have folks willing to step up and try to help, which is kind of interesting and kind of fun. We got a brand new streetscape so that if someone is bringing something to downtown, they're not bringing something new and interesting in amidst a crumbling infrastructure, but into a brand new infrastructure. And so those are just kind of some of the fun things.
I think from a small business standpoint, I think our community very much supports local businesses. Chinook Pest Services started in Topeka and grew into a larger area, but Topeka's the loyalty that the people that live in Topeka showed to our company is a reason I'd want to start another business here. I think there's a great opportunity for local businesses.
Sometimes those soft qualities are as important as the hard ones, I think. I know I was interviewing somebody in Lawrence yesterday about the Junior Olympics, which we have seen a big impact in Topeka because there was spillover. And he talked about how he was talking to people from all over the country. There are people there from pretty much every state and some from outside the area. And he said that they seem really surprised that we're all so nice. And I thought, that's such a great statement about Kansas. And you hear a lot about the Midwestern ethics and what they bring to the business world. When you're looking for young professionals in your business, what do you think that Topeka needs to be able to sell them and bring them here on this community?
Some of the exact same things we're hoping to engender here, which is locally owned, locally operated, unique and different experiences that fit in our community and some of the things you just mentioned. It has to be organic. It has to fit here. We can't pick up something from another community and transplant it. We're not interested in more what I call shopping mall food, as a for instance, where, it's a cookie cutter and it could work, but it's not a unique and different experience. Young people, young professionals particularly, and I know this at least from my own adult children, is they're much more into the experience than the things. And so what we're hoping this brings is more experience and allows people to see what this community brings. One of the most exciting things about this is we're starting to see a new pride in our community. And nothing builds a community like its pride. And not everyone has it. And for some, they're just starting to catch it. And other people absolutely have it. It's infectious, and we need to make more of it.
Right.
It's been said, our generation, Mark and I's, the Topeka, we maybe don't have the pride, but if you talk to the young professionals, you talk to the intern program, they're excited about this community. And so to build on that's great.
I think one of the things that I've heard, at least recently in speeches about Topeka, was that the opportunities here for young people are so much more than what you would find in, say, if you go to New York City or somewhere, Chicago, anywhere big like that. It's kind of hard to break in and create the change that you want to see in the community. Do you find that to be true?
I do. I mean, certainly, I'm not saying they're equal opportunities. They're just always different. But for example, if you want to, as a young professional, want to be in a position of leadership and influence, and you're willing to do what it takes to provide leadership and influence in a really big pond, you can get swallowed up. But in a pond like this, there is, even some of our interns, for example, can rise to the occasion. If they've got the goods and they want to do it, they can become influencers and leaders in our community. That's hard to do in a really big market, but you can do it here.
Right. Back to Top Tank just a little bit. What do you think will happen? I mean, what do you envision happening after a winner is selected? How does this go forward? Is it really going to depend on the industry, the person? What do you hope to see come out of this?
Well, one of the qualifications one of the requirements is that the winner can have a business open and running within 12 months. So let's use that as a time frame. Within 12 months of that February, they were opening a business. Our goal, and I think it's important that we talk about, we're investing in the business. This isn't here's $100,000 and good luck, but it's our hope that $100,000 investment gets us a small piece of equity that also brings us to the table to help any way we can, and Mark's expertise or my expertise or Greg's or John's or Cody's or whoever, that we can help support them to be successful. I think that would be what I envision as the next step.
I would also envision that we have 20 more good ideas than we could possibly handle or fund, and that it creates a buzz and that we create a network and an affiliation around this process that it brings other people in who have expertise or capital or resources or passion that can make some of the other ideas that we didn't select successful as well.
Well, it's an opportunity to show off Topeka, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, are you getting applications from outside the region, or are most of? Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I talked to someone from Dallas, Texas yesterday on the phone. So And we're still trying to get the word out in terms of that, because initially I think what we saw, and we talked about this downstairs, a lot of people with good ideas. And that's important, and we want to help them build those new ideas into what a really business plan looks like. But we are also accepting applications from an established business that would like to take that idea and transplant it here in Topeka. So that's kind of our next step, is we're really trying to promote to current businesses or small businesses, would your idea work here in Topeka, and would you be willing to come? So.
So when they come here to do their you narrow down to 20 first, is that right? And now at that point, will they come and make presentations and talk with you?
Correct.
So they'll have the opportunity then to visit Topeka, see what opportunities are here, even if they aren't the one that's selected.
Yeah, that they will be here for a day and a half. It'll include time in front of us, obviously doing the formal interviews, but we'll be showing off Topeka and what we have to offer, not just from our real estate market, as Mark mentioned earlier, but some of the resources we have available through Small Business Council and various things. So.
I know we were talking earlier, Forge has created the Top City Intern Program. Mark and I were talking about this before we started today, and one of the things we talked about was the opportunity to bring these people in, not just from the U.S., but from all over the world, to see Topeka. How do we make the most of those kinds of opportunities?
Well, you talk about
Well,
you guys are doing on that, which is fantastic.
You create a network of people that have interactions with one another, and then the value of a network is a function of the nodes on a network. And so if you have 5 people working together, you have a pretty decent sized network. You have 50, you have a geometrically larger network. And that's really some of the benefits of the internship program, is various folks throughout Topeka have had interns for years. But if we can create a common network among those folks, imagine possibilities. And imagine that we now have the ability to retain, I don't know, a third or half of those young people that when they see what our community has to offer. If in a community this size, if we kept and retained 50 to 100 people a year from that program, it moves the needle.
Oh, absolutely. That is across the board one of the biggest things that I hear from businesses of all sizes, is that workforce. They just really struggle to pull people to this area, not necessarily because there's anything wrong with Topeka, but it's sometimes I think we tend to, as a young people, gravitate toward the more romantic sounding big city type of places, and so really presenting it here and being able to draw people in that direction.
So this program and that program, the internship program, Top Tank, any number of other things, we all know who have lived here that this is a great place to live, a great place to grow, and a wonderful place to raise a family. But if you have no experience with a market like this, you will never learn of it. You might fly over it a few dozen times, but you'll never learn of it. So unless you have family from here, or you have a business or a job that brings you here, you'll never get to know what a community like this offers. And that's really what we're trying to do, is expand that offering to people that don't know about it.
Is there anything that people who aren't directly involved with Top Tank can do to support the program? Are there ways that they can reach out, or?
I think when in February, when we have our event, I think that is a great opportunity for our community to come together, participate, attend, and talk to these companies the 10 that are finalists. I think it's a great way for them to feel the support and love that our community certainly has for local businesses. So between now and then, we certainly are going to be asking many outside of the Top Tank, the 6 of us, to help us in determining who the 20 that we bring into town in November are, and then the finalists. So there is a lot of work to do, and I see people within my eyes that we're going to be asking to help. So certainly in that way. So.
Well, okay, and I just completely lost my question. This is why I tell everyone that I went into newspapers. Yeah. I'm sure it was excellent. So when you look at who you've got coming in and what they're looking at in terms of their ideas and all of that, how critical is it to you to explore this concept of buy local and shop local? You know, I mean, you're bringing in more businesses and looking at people who really put their heart and soul and their money into local businesses, and this is something that we talk about a lot in the business world.
Well, as a small business owner, I guess I have mixed emotions on that, because I do believe that there's this world of competition that we all have to perform at a higher level or we don't deserve the business. So in the case of Schindel Lawn Landscape, if I don't provide a quality better than the national provider, I don't deserve it just because I'm local.
Right.
So I think that's a slippery slope.
That's a
Now,
good point.
and we don't want to discourage if there's someone in Des Moines that has a great idea and they'd like to replicate it in Topeka, and they're willing to invest in our community, and they're willing to hire in our community, and they're willing to bring this idea, but yet they're still going to be based out of Des Moines. I don't know that they're disqualified.
Right.
And so I'm a
That's-
little torn
yeah.
there, Morgan.
Yeah.
So
I would
No,
spin it.
that's-
There's nothing wrong with starting something here that then also is successful elsewhere.
Right,
yeah,
that's true.
a great point.
That is very
So.
true. Well, I think we are to the end of our time. We're going to switch out folks here and talk just a little bit with Glenda Washington. Head over. And John Dykus is also going to join us. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much for taking
Thank
your
you.
time. I
Appreciate it.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can you get by?
Nice to meet you.
Good morning, Glenda. How are you? And Glenda is with Go Topeka, and she works with a lot of small businesses in this town, and I always get her title wrapped up. And John, of course, is with Capital Federal. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Nice to see you.
So we're going to talk about Top Tank from a little bit of a different angle with these two folks, though John is one of the investors in the initiative program, whatever I guess that you want to call it. But talk a little bit about what Topeka can do to support these businesses. John, first I'm going to ask you why you thought this was an important initiative to be a part of.
I mean, I think as we redevelop downtown, and you look at all the new things that are happening down here, from the streetscape, what the city's put in, what all the private businesses have put in, but the new hotel coming in, the various restaurants that are supposed to be coming in. This was a way to continue that growth. To bring somebody, a new business into town, bring them to downtown, and let them be a part of this renovation. Because when you kind of look at downtown right now, it's almost a clean slate. We did a lot of redevelopment down here, new streetscape and all that. And it's all going to be new businesses that are coming down here and joining a lot of successful businesses down here. But they've got an opportunity that maybe they don't have other places to really be a lead in what happens in a community.
Absolutely. One of the things that I do hear from people a lot is that we tend to talk about downtown like it's done. You know, we did the streetscape, we did the infrastructure work, but the reality is we've still got a decent number of vacant buildings, and we've got a lot of people who are putting a lot of money into those buildings to get them ready to rent and lease and sell. But we're still kind of at a tipping point, I would say. Is that true?
I would say it's very true. I'd say we're still at the beginning. I mean, what we did with the Kansas Avenue streetscape and what the city has done to be able to host new events and do some different things down here with all the pocket parks. We're just at the beginning. That was the start, and hopefully that was the horse that is going to bring all the carts along with the new businesses that want to come to downtown. You talked in the previous segment about all the millennials, and there's a lot of apartments and condominiums down here that people could occupy. So if we get some new exciting businesses down here where people feel like that there's a community down here that they can live and work in, that's where we're at the start of just where we can go with downtown.
It's pretty exciting, but then it also can be a little bit intimidating, I would think, in terms of just what is still left to be done. I know that your bank made a significant commitment, and there are a lot of people who give you guys the credit for kind of launching the downtown revitalization with deciding to stay down here. You've been in Topeka since, I think I read 1890 something?
1893.
1893. I assume not you personally, right?
Even with the hairdo, not that long.
So tell me why Capital Federal is so invested in being here.
I mean, we started in downtown Topeka. We've had about 3 or 4 different locations along Kansas Avenue, and some of it maybe was the timing. Back in 2010, our building was 50 years old, or it would be in 2000. obsolete from the new technology and things, and really needed to do something different. And maybe coming right off the banking crisis in 2008 wasn't the time to do something splashy somewhere else. But this was our home. This is where we have been since 1893, and we looked at the opportunity that we had with that building and here at 7th and Kansas Avenue, and decided we would just renovate it from top to bottom. Took it down to the concrete floors and the steel beams and started over, and made a significant investment. It was about a $18 million investment in downtown Topeka, and with the Times Square sign around there, we got a lot of nice comments on that. Trying to, make a different presence in downtown Topeka, but hopefully that was the start of something. Then you have what we've all done on Kansas Avenue, and just it takes time. Everybody would like to see something today. And we're in that microwave world of I want it done right now, but it takes time. You take one step at a time, and we continue to do that. And I think Top Tank and what we're trying to do there is another step. It's a creative idea that was launched to bring businesses to downtown, to make an awareness of what could happen and be a part of downtown.
Both of you in your jobs, which you fully work with a lot of small business people, what is important to their success as they start out in a project like this? So the winner, what are they going to need to look at as they go forward?
Well, and I think that you guys are positioned it really well, because you said that there will be somebody walking with them. They need mentors right away. They need somebody to help them with the blueprint of whatever it is that they're going to do. They need to make sure that they have their numbers right. They've got somebody to just listen to them about their fears, because they're going to be afraid. This is the first time in this community, and they're trying to cut their teeth, so to speak, on Kansas Avenue. And so they will need strong mentors. They'll need more than one. And so hopefully this group will embrace them that way and make sure that they have that.
Is there any particular, I know that you probably look at a lot more research than I do, though I see a few things come across my desk about what are the most typical reasons that a small business will fail. Have you guys seen what is
Well, there's a lot of reasons. Undercapitalized, not enough money. They start it, and it's a good idea, but they don't have enough money to go to the next stage. So that's one. The other is that they're not doing something that they love. They've started it, and they realize that, hey, I really don't like what I'm doing. And so they give up on it. They really haven't studied the industry. And so they don't know the trends, and so a lot of that happens as well.
That's interesting. I know when I interview small business owners, sometimes they'll say, well, I wanted to set my own hours, and I'm like, you mean all of them?
Yeah, no.
Because it's a 23, 24-hour-a-day job when you're running a small business, and it's interesting that you say that some people discover they just don't like it.
They don't like it.
I guess I kind of make an assumption that if you open a small business, it's one that you're drawn to.
I think some of it, too, that you're touching on there is the time commitment. I mean, you are it. This is your business, your baby, and it's hard to turn it over to a manager and have somebody that has the same passion as you do about it and the same interest in it. I think sometimes people maybe want to get out of a corporate world and control their own destiny and their time and those things, but then they're like, maybe not this much time.
Exactly, right.
So
Weekends,
a lot of times, especially depending on the business you're in, you're at the mercy of when your customers are going to come in and shop or patronize your business, and you got to be there at all times.
I swear everyone I know has said at least at one point that I'd love to own a restaurant, or I'd like to own a bar, a little corner bar, a neighborhood bar, and I'm like, that's one of the toughest industries I think that we have out there. So
I remember when I first moved back here, a neighbor, they started Mrs. Powell's cinnamon rolls out at the West Street Ball when it first opened out there, and what you don't realize, that business doesn't start when the doors open at 9 or 10 o'clock. You were there at 3 or 4 in the morning making those cinnamon rolls so that they were ready to sell when you open the doors, and it's the time that is you have to put in before and after the doors
of people don't realize that, and you have to put in the work in order to make your business a success. It's your business. It's not John's business. It's it's Glenda's business. So I have to be committed to every hour, every minute of making sure that everything's in order in order to make that business successful.
So, Glenda, go over with us a little bit what we have here in Topeka. I know there are options, and again, I talk to a lot of small businesses because I'm doing the story on, hey, everybody wants to know what's going in that new store that's opening on the corner. So a lot of them aren't aware of SCORE, for instance, which I think is one of the great resources in town. Can you talk a little bit about some of those organizations?
So, first of all, let me just say this, that yesterday we met as a group. There was about 22 service providers to small businesses. We don't realize what we have in the community. So we're bringing together a group. Actually, Karen at 712 is bringing together a group that will create an inventory of service providers to small businesses. So there were even some in the room that I didn't know about.
That's great.
Yeah,
I mean, that's great, and
yes,
also you kind of right,
yeah.
Yeah,
So
how they're marketing themselves
yes.
actually.
So SCORE, Service Corps of Retired Executives, they will provide mentoring, training, just walk you through a business plan, all of those kinds of things, and they're free as well. Small Business Development Center. Small Business Development Center has a number of opportunities to help businesses grow. They have several counselors that are specialized in specific areas for small businesses, and they can meet with them as well by scheduled appointments. They'll go out to their shop as well, do some site visits, and kind of help them work through.
Classes too. Is that
They
right?
do training as
so
well.
You can take a class on accounting or the parts, because I know that as well when I talk to owners, a lot of times they're passionate about their craft, whatever it is that their specialty is, but they don't know anything about accounting or keeping their books or marketing for that matter.
Yeah, so nobody wants to learn the behind the scenes
right.
stuff. Everybody wants to just cook the cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
So yes, so they do training as well as Topeka does the training as well, provide training, lunch and learns, a series called Fast Track to get them up and educated about owning and operating that business throughout the life of the business.
Tell me a little more about Fast Track.
So Fast Track is a series of learnings for small businesses. We go through your financials. We bring in a banker or an accountant to kind of go through what he looks for in a business to make sure that a business is healthy, or what you should consider as far as money is concerned before you open your doors. A lot of businesses don't realize that they need to have more money in the bank than they have, just they need to have money on hand. And so they may run out of money, and when they look, maybe their credit isn't so good. So now you're in danger because you can't get a loan. So make sure that they're solid. We have bankers and accountants come in and kind of walk them through all of that. Make sure you're solid. Let us help you look at your credit score and how do we build that. Just kind of get that up a little bit. So.
This is interesting because my daughter, when she was in college, she was not a business school major, but that business school at the university she went to had a course in the summertime that was open to non-business school majors to learn the business world kind of at a 20,000-foot view, so that you have so many people who have a passion or a craft, or whether they be a lawyer, an architect, engineer, but they don't know how to run the business around it. And with these opportunities, they're going to be able to provide somebody who has a passion for this business the opportunity to learn how they run that business to make it successful, so they can promote what they do best.
That's great that they're doing that, because I think a lot of people end up, and particularly we're seeing a surge in home run businesses, freelancers, those kinds of things in our society in general across the country. So I think learning that, if people don't expect maybe to end up needing to know, what those federal taxes that are taken out of the paycheck are, that type of thing. So from your perspective, I know that in the studies I've read, if they do percentages on why businesses fail, it's oftentimes undercapitalization. So how do you look at business loans? I mean, kind of how does that work in the banking industry?
I mean, you're going to look at first the person, and I'm probably not the best banker to be talking about this because we do single-family home lending, not small business loans.
Okay, I wasn't sure of that. Sorry about that.
So I'm probably not the best person to be up here answering that. There's a lot of other bankers here in town that could better answer that question.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Well, I know that one of the things that when I talk to people, they have planned the expenses, like they do the obvious things, like their rent and their lease, employees, even what it's going to cost them, those kinds of things. And a lot of times I'll ask and they'll say, well, we're not going to do any marketing for a while. And people are using social media more often to market, of course. But I think, is that something that you see a lot of marketing help needed as you work with
We
small
do
business
actually,
people?
and that's one of the areas that we focus on, because if you start your business and you're on that corner and nobody knows that you're on that corner, it does you no good. So we do focus tremendously on marketing, making sure they put themselves out there, whether it's online, whether it's social media, whether it's in the paper, on the radio, whatever. We make sure that they know that that's a critical part of them growing the business. It's not going to go anywhere if nobody knows you're there.
Right. And I think expecting it to go viral online somehow, which is really what a lot of what you hear.
Yeah.
Is that part
I think
talk
one of the
about it.
things, one of the things I think for Topeka businesses is to make sure you're prepared when the first day you open the door, that you're able to serve the customers and meet the expectations. Because so many times, you look at businesses maybe that failed, that the first opportunity, the first time customers came in, they weren't really ready for them, and it's hard to get somebody back if that first impression was not good from that standpoint. So hopefully, when we look at Top Tank and the 12 months that they have to get it up and running, that they are prepared day one, because hopefully with this, you're going to have more of an interest, more people focusing on this, and knowing that this business is it's not going to take you finding this little business and putting it in the paper that there's going to be a lot
I was
of
thinking
publicity.
I felt a little sorry for them, because there's going to be a lot of spotlight on this first opportunity, the first business that wins this kind of thing, and what they're doing. So
It's so just hats off to the team that put Top Tank together. It's like somebody put a refresh button and the city became alive. I mean, I've been here 4 years, and I'm seeing things that I never thought I'd see in this community.
That's wonderful.
Everybody's excited around embracing entrepreneurship, small business. And, every time I look around, people are saying, well, we're doing this, or we need to do this. And, you take that advice, and you listen. And when people step up like you guys did, it's just awesome. I've talked all over everywhere about it. I just think it's very,
I know it's got to be good when some friends were talking that some of the wives who have been, don't give me the beauty salon or whatever, that they were talking about it.
When you start to
and
hear
all the different ideas, and people were, you ought to submit your idea to Top Tank and see if you can get that business started up in the Capitol there. That when something like this, with all that the Capital Journal has done to help us promote this, it gets people talking. It gets people talking in those kind of environments. That's what's going to make it all successful. And hopefully, this is just one of many businesses that will, people will put the time and effort into their business plan, and they'll say, hey, I didn't get that. But there might be somebody else that say, hey, I like the second or third idea better than the first idea that the six of us decided upon, and invest in that, and really have not just one new business come into downtown, but multiple businesses come into downtown.
Well, and I wondered about that. What a learning opportunity for the finalists as well. They're going to have access to Glenda and
have access
services
to
and creating.
Exactly, have access to Go Topeka, to 712, to Small Business Development Center, to all of those. If they desire, we're positioning ourselves to provide assistance whatever way we possibly can.
Right.
But it's really exciting to be a part of a renaissance, and that's exactly what this is. We're rebirthing downtown. We're rebirthing the small business community, and I think that it's incumbent upon us as service providers to make sure that as we realign what we offer to fit the small businesses, that we embrace anybody that's looking at starting a small business. I mean, I get more people in my door now asking, for assistance, for guidance on starting a business than I have in a while. So you guys put something in the water. People are really excited about it, and so they may not win the top tank, but they're actually in their heads, they realize that now it's not such a stretch to want to be a small business. It's not so, it's not so far away.
Just firing up that passion that they had and were thinking about. And it's scary, I would guess.
Yes.
I mean, I worry actually more about the people I talk to who aren't scared when they start their small business, because I think maybe they aren't completely aware of what it takes.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about the business plan. That was something, to me, that seems that critical component that really will lay out.
So I don't think a lot of people realize this. They start their business and they don't know where they're going. And this business plan piece is just like opening a book and reading from the beginning to the end. If I'm a banker and I'm a business banker, I want to see exactly or hear exactly where are you going with this business. At what point are you going to break even? When will you start making money? When, even as far as when will you retire? The business plan is your guide to success. And if you write your business plan effectively and you follow your marketing strategy and you follow your, make sure your cash flow is in place by following your financial plan, then, your business plan is just your map to success. Your map to success, and people don't realize that. So a lot of people.
Well, and I think I was a freelancer for about 15 years, and I helped one of my clients write their business plan. And it was honestly, and as a freelancer with technically my own business, I probably should have done one. But it was the first time that I'd been involved with that kind of thing. And I remember reading some of the questions and being thoroughly intimidated. Well, how do we even figure this out?
Yes.
And she did not approach some of the resources that we have here, but things like demographics of customers.
Yeah.
How many customers do you have in the market, and competition?
And so you can find that out through our research department. Those are little things that you'll be able to capture. You need to know who your competition is in the community. You need to know their customer base. You need to know if there's an opportunity for us to collaborate, or just build a relationship with the competition, because who knows when there's an opportunity for both of you all to bid on the same opportunity, to double bid. Yeah. So build those relationships that are long-lasting relationships. Make sure that you've done your research. You have aligned yourself with your mentors. Make sure you know your numbers, because that's going to be critical. If you don't know your numbers, then you're doomed. And then make sure that that you take your customer feedback once you open those doors, and you change consistently. If that customer says, I like this, but this is what happens when I do that, then you listen to your customer, listen to the voice of that customer, make that change, make your business better as it goes along.
I think one of the great things about this, too, will come out is all those people that maybe had an idea, had a passion, but didn't know where to take it. If they're watching programs like this or reading about this in the newspaper, they're going to learn all the resources that are here in Topeka that could help them. And whether or not they're the winner in this, they might become the winner because they've learned where they need to go to get the help to develop this business plan and take the idea or passion they have and allow it to come to fruition and open a business and serve the community.
Marie, you already know about some of the things that we offer at Topeka, like the Small Business Incentive Plan, which has been wildly successful. It has helped, I think, over 75, 80 businesses.
Talk a little bit about that.
So we do have, when I came here, I kind of dug around and did some research about what is it that you need as a small business? What kind of assistance can we provide? And, people are going to immediately say money. So I'm knowing you want money. Let me figure out how. Yes. So what we decided to do was come up with an incentive plan that will motivate them to grow, will help them increase their employee base, and get them the equipment that they need. So we identified 4 areas that we would use as sort of a reimbursable incentive plan. And we provide incentives up to $5,000 for equipment purchases, for construction and renovation, and then we provide a 750 piece stipend for $750 for training and development, and $750 for marketing. And people have used my marketing to secure your services as well. But those are the things that we thought would be good. And also, they don't know that we have a small business loan program. Our loan program, micro loan program, we can loan up to $100,000, which is not so micro, but we can loan up to $100,000 in that program as well. So we have those things as tools that you can use to help grow your business. So it was all about how do we help small businesses grow their business, and how do we help them stay, alive and productive in the community, and hiring people, and creating those jobs that we so desperately needed.
Oh, absolutely. That's a lot of what comes out of this, is that great economic growth that we really want to see. Well, I think we're about to the end of our time here, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming in to talk with us. I think Zach Ahrens from the newspaper is going to join us next, and so I appreciate you guys coming in here.
Thank you.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Zach.
I get 2 chairs. Well, I'm just going to spread out a little bit. Yes. All right.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I love the elbow room here. This is great.
I love the opportunity to question the guy running the newspaper. That's a lot of fun, too.
I tell you what, it has been exciting just standing on the side and watching this on Facebook. Just the passion and the energy of all of the individuals, and this is a good time to be in Topeka.
It is. It's a lot of fun to see the momentum. I know we have a new economic development strategy that's called Momentum 2022, but I think it's such a brilliant concept, because I think of it all the time when I talk about what's happening here. So talk to me a little bit about Topeka Capital Journal is part of Top Tank.
Yes.
Why was this important to you to bring the newspaper into what they're doing?
Right. So, I think there was a connection in a couple ways, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. The first thing is audience. That's something that, we have the privilege and the responsibility to be the storytellers and to really capture what's happening right now. And what I like about this, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, is, we've already planted the seed, right? And we've talked about this momentum and propelling this forward. The event takes place in February, as we talked about, right? And then on top of that, then within 12 months, we're going to see this new business concept, and hopefully others that will come down to downtown Topeka and invest in our community. For us to be able to capture what's the process, and as some of our guests this morning have indicated, we capture along the way as we tell that story, we share that with our audience, what the thought process is. And what I'm hoping is maybe there's some folks on the sideline, as they're watching us and reading us online, and even we talked about just the reach that our audience has, even beyond Topeka, Shawnee County, Northeast Kansas. We've already received, and we're out of confidentiality, we're not sharing the details of some of those folks that have already thrown their great ideas and applied. But for us to reach people in Dallas and Des Moines and Chicago, really the greater region. So I think audience is the first part, and us being able to storytell. But the other piece is we want this to be a successful community, and we are business partners. This is home for me and my family. We live here. Selfishly, I would love to see businesses continue to grow and thrive, and for great new ideas to come to the table. And in a lot of ways, Topeka has been maybe more of a secret than it needs to be, and I want everybody to know about it. And we have the audience to be able to really push that out and to tell the story and to share the good things that are happening here in Topeka.
It's amazing how widespread the growth of business. It hits every single thing in the community. I mean,
it really does.
Tax base to how the other businesses thrive, that kind of thing. So
you're right.
All see that.
And you're right. You see that because you mentioned with the momentum, the holistic plan, and now how what's the action component to that. And that's what I like about that is not only have we identified what maybe some of the challenges are as we look at today and we look forward, but how are we going to answer and address those? And that's really what the Momentum 2022 does, is it carries that forward. And so not only are we building the business opportunities, but the infrastructure to support that, right? Quality of life, quality of place. Okay, we've got another business here. Who's going to be our workforce, right? So making this a desirable place to live and to work and to play, but then also to be able to bring in folks from outside. So the Momentum 2022 plan really does address those things. And instead of being more linear, now it's more of a circle, if you will, right? So it brings different people in to the table and facilitates those conversations. And I think the newspaper, through our ability to curate content and to be storytellers, helps to facilitate that momentum forward.
I've been really immersed in Momentum 2022, and for those not familiar, and I always mess up up the name, but it's the Topeka Shawnee County Holistic Economic Development Strategy was what this started as, and then it has achieved its full-time name now, and it's going to be Momentum 2022, which I send thanks for every time I have to write it.
It's on a bumper sticker a lot better, I think. Yeah.
We were talking about the 2022. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get out there without fumbling, but what I like about the plan, and we are putting out a special section on Momentum.
Yes.
On August 6th.
Yes, and it's going. I mean, like everything we've done lately, because the story is just that good, and there's so much information. This again is 30 pages. As I don't need to tell Morgan, because you've been intimately involved in doing your good work with that, and along with the talented staff that we have. But being able to share that story, but to have it in one place. And I think that's what I like too, is we've got a lot of incremental great stuff that's happening, but for me to be able to see it and to read it from cover to cover, to share it, to capture that along with some of the storytelling that we've done through our online and through social media and all of that, it just really becomes a great piece.
The variety. I like the way that you described the plan, that it's not linear, that it's a circle, because the stories in there, as I covered them, range from workforce, which is the one that always comes up with businesses, but also to quality of place and walkability and bike paths. I mean, it is just such a, and I also like that they call potential actions. Yeah. Every single thing has an action associated with it. And so when I talk to a lot of the business people in town, they know this is what we are going to focus on, and this is what we are actually going to do. This wasn't a plan. Matt Pavarnik at the Chamber says, this is not going to be stuck on a shelf.
Right.
And nobody do anything after we spent the money on a consultant.
Yeah,
so.
Great point, because we have a lot of binders. We have a lot of studies on shelves, right? But we need a living, breathing document, and that's really what this is. Not only that, but just as you've been involved in it, we've covered it, the people that have gathered around the table. These are action-oriented doers, and I remember being part of the strategic. I'm not going to try to say it. The strategic holistic group.
Yeah.
There was a moment that we paused and we essentially voted and said, do we believe in this? Because we know that when we say yes, we believe in it, we're going to be fully vested in what we want to try to carry out. And there was a moment of pause, not because people didn't believe in what we were talking about, but they knew there's a lot of work, but there's a lot of commitment. And that was what was exciting, is when you have the city and the county and the business community all singing off the same sheet of music to help propel us forward. It's going to stick. It's going to be good.
And I like that they didn't shy away from the challenges.
Yes.
I mean, oftentimes when I'm interviewing people, new businesses, the small businesses that we've been talking about here today, I'll ask them about what's going to be hard or what do you think isn't going to go well. And they don't want to answer that question because they're worried about the negativity associated. Right. But if you don't take on the challenges straight out front, then you're not going to get anywhere because you haven't dealt with them. And we really, the plan looks at what are we doing well, but what aren't we doing well.
Yes, I think it's very honest in all aspects. Yes, yes.
One of the things that Matt also said about the plan was that Market Street, that put it together, had never seen the type of consensus among the steering committee, and it's a 43-member steering committee, so it's not a small group of people to get 96% consensus on moving forward in that plan that you were talking about.
And again, very intentional in that big vote. You would have thought we were, I don't know, choosing what kind of ice cream we wanted. It was a deep sigh before we voted. So
you've been involved with that process. Tell me a little bit about what you drew out of it, just from the people around you.
Well, I think I was impressed with the people that, there's a lot of diversity of thought and people, different groups represented around the table, so I thought that was very encouraging. I was surprised with the engagement, because a lot of times you'll have a couple meetings and you realize, well, maybe the donuts aren't as good as I thought, or the coffee's not as hot as I thought, and people will drop off. But the engagement was strong from beginning to end, and I thought that was impressive.
That's great.
I thought that I was impressed. There were people that had been here for a long time, and there were newcomers to the table, and they were all treated with equal voice. And I think we're going to see this, that Topeka is poised for new ideas and to bring people to the table that want to engage and become involved. And I think that ties in even with the top tank process, where this is the time. If you're not in our community, this is the opportunity to work alongside us, and so we can learn and grow right alongside, the newcomer or the established business in Topeka that wants to plant another seed right here on Kansas Avenue.
The growth in businesses that are already here is a critical component that I think we overlook frequently.
Yes.
Because we focus on new business, new job creation, and I think that's something that you'll see a lot as this goes forward.
Yes, and I think that's an important point. We're not forsaking the businesses that are already established, and the investors have been conscious of that as well, that we're not looking for the next great thing that we think is from outside coming in, but we're open-minded, or they're open-minded in all different aspects. And we have the support system through Glenda and her team and other supports here to help existing businesses, obviously, as well as new businesses coming in.
It's an exciting time.
It is. It's a good time to be here.
Yeah, it is. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
And did you want to wrap up?
Yeah,
or?
absolutely. So thank you very much for tuning into our Facebook Live broadcast. We really appreciate it. Special thanks to Weststar Energy, particularly Mark Ruel, the president, and two former Capital Journal employees, Michelle Cole and Gina Penzig. They are Weststar Communications Specialists. We want to thank all of them, and definitely all of our guests and everybody that took the time to tune in. We'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you.